Sammy, you mentioned that we forgot to talk about palettes today, so do it.
The first summer I was studying with Henry, he had us said have 3 yellows on your palette: a lemon yellow, cadmium yellow, and yellow ochre. And then the earth colors was like burnt sienna and Indian red. And I'm not sure whether Mars violet was one of them or not. I know it was one added later. And cadmium orange, cadmium red, deep, and phthalo blue or ultramarine blue, whichever you could get, and cadmium green, and permanent green or cadmium green deep, or and Windsor emerald, and titanium white. And later, as we would, he would tell us to add, this color, and Indian yellow was one of those colors that was later added to our palette, and several of the magentas, and the permanent rose and stuff like that. On the reds, alizarin crimson was actually a dark red on our palette, but we would add colors as needed or as we could afford, stuff like that. And one thing about Henry in the early years sold Winsor Newton paint. There was an art supply store downtown, but they were really high. So he sold Winsor Newton paint, and we would buy our paints for him. You could get a tube of cadmium yellow or red, whatever, for a couple of dollars. Where you spend a lot more in a retail shop. But the palette kind of gets, and over the years, I remember when Henry would come to the Studio One in Louisiana to teach, a lot of the ladies would add colors to his, but try this, try that, and he would do things like that. Some of them he liked, some of them he didn't. Like I said, people would ask him to try things over the years, and some he tried, and some. His palette changed over the years. A lot of people have photographed his palette, and I did so in different times. But his palette changes. But the things that I just talked about earlier were always on his palette. And I remember when I first started going up there, we sold Grumbacher paint at Delta State at the art store, at the supply store, and that's all I had. And he said those are he said they're fine, except the cadmium is that they don't have quite the brightness, the richness as the Winsor Newton and some of the other brands of paint. So I started using Winsor Newton paint exclusively until Gamblin came out, and then I used some Williamsburg paint and some of, I can't think of the other, Williamsburg. It's one other pretty big oil company. And they're not the expensive end of the pigment that I buy. But they're made well. They have a lot of pigment in them. That's the main thing. You want to get, if the tube of paint is so light, it doesn't have any pigment in it. It's got just filler. Anything else, boss? Our students from Delta State love this. If this overhead light off or on?
That's okay, Sammy.
I did. You ought to go somewhere to get something to eat.